So, welcome to All For United WFC. Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. To the match reaction show tonight after yesterday's defeat, penalty shootout loss against Leicester in the Conti Cup. Four of us on tonight. Connor's took the place of Benny. Natalie, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Doing good.
Nice one. Matt, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, John, thanks.
Connor, just come off the back of your show. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, mixed emotions, isn't it? The women lost, the men won. It's like, feel somewhere in the middle, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we've got obviously City, United, Everton, all on 6 points. I think we would have got into this weekend thinking that Leicester was not easy, but definitely one that we should have won, especially coming off the back of the City win, and the performance at Arsenal wasn't too bad at all. And obviously we just not only lost, but it was kind of like a very flat kind of performance. And we'll get into all this. We'll also get into whether or not Skinner chose the best starting 11. Did he make the right substitutions? Did the players look weak as well? There's lots to actually get into today's show. So we've all got something that we want to say, and people in the comments already, they'll have their say. Twitter's had their say. Nat, I'll just start off with yourself, and I hope you don't mind me saying this. I'm sure you won't. You left the stadium right at full time. You didn't hang around. I guess the question is, what was you disappointed about the most?
That it had gone full 90 minutes, penalties. I wanted to leave at 90 minutes, but I thought that's a bit harsh, isn't it? I suppose. Let's not do that. Let's stay to the penalties. Let's see, if they can get an extra point. That would have taken us top. It's just the fact that we had this December coming up, and Ethan Mannion's even touched on it. We can't let it define our December, but we had Leicester, Brighton, Everton, Villa, and if you look at them on paper and the form that those teams are in, I expected 12 points because this squad is good enough, really on paper, in a lot of them. But Leicester was the easier game out of all them for. And it's just the lackluster nature of it. It's not even the lackluster, because there was chances and they could have scored and they should have scored. But it was like we only started to play when we were like down. So when they went up, that's when we started to play. And then it went 2-1, and then we started to play and got a goal back. So it's like when we equalised dead quickly after half time, why did that pressure sort of stop, and it sort of went calm, and it's like he says we're in control, but when we actually put the foot to the gas and applied the pressure, we scored goals. When we were pressing and we were running, we scored goals. But then he says, "Oh, take a step back." Take a step back for what? Because when we put that pressure on them, that's when the cracks were there, the doors opened up for us. So what are we taking a step back for? It's accountability. It's accountability from the players, but it's accountability from him. And to be honest, it's annoyed me now. I even knew what he was going to say before he even come out and say it. Oh, this one didn't do that. Oh, they didn't do this. Oh, this, and it's boring now. I'm fed up. What did you do? You got things wrong. Playing Staniforth as a winger was wrong. Whether Ivana this and that. Oh, she just come. I don't care. You named her on the bench. Get her on after 50 minutes then. We're fighting to win a game. Come on. And I get it, Carrie would have played, so it would have been different. But then I look at Carrie, she's 18 years old. We're relying on her for some kind of energy. So that's when I look at him and I look at the players. How can you look at this kid to provide some kind of life to the team? I just think there's players in there that should hang their head. But then I think there's some players that he's carried on playing and they're actually sort of coming into form now. And it's mind-boggling what's going on. It's hard. And so that's why I just thought I don't even want to, I'm sorry, and all this kind of stuff that they do. Oh, we'll try. Oh, clap. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know. I'm not interested. And it's the same. I've done it under Casey, and I've walked out I saw them get beat at Brighton by Brighton at home. Another embarrassing kind of performance. But there's kind of a lot more like Casey took that on her shoulder. I made a mistake. I did this wrong. It's not good enough. Whereas you just hear of him, oh, they need to do this. They need to do that. What about yourself? What do you need to do? Because I can see he's changed things. So obviously he in himself knows he's got things wrong. But it's just the fact that he comes out and just goes, they should have done this. No, sir. What should you have done? And that annoys me. And I just thought, can't be bothered seeing anyone's face, anyone saying sorry. So I just sort of went straight to the pub, sat down, had some dinner, and went to watch the Devs, who won. So
got a little bit better.
Good. Yeah.
Nat, I mean, you kind of summarised everything there, and we'll get into them details, everything that you mentioned. Matt, I'll just bring you in first. Obviously, losing to a team that's bottom of the league, a WSL league, if nothing else. Where do you think it actually went wrong? Because it seems to kind of flip from one extreme to the other, and that's what we're doing at the moment. You know, we put in a good performance where our hopes kind of rise a little bit, but the consistency is not there, and then the team seems to take a step backwards. And not just because of the results, but as Natalie did mention, we did have a couple of chances, and we could talk about that a little bit. You know, Lucy, pretty much an open goal. Mannion, a header from, say, I don't know, 8 yards out. There was chances there. We scored 2 goals. You know, that could have been four goals easily. But again, just doesn't seem, everything seems to be a struggle, doesn't it, Matt? Where do you think we're going wrong at the moment?
Well, I'm just reading the bottom thing that's whizzing across here, and it's talking about the international break. And do you know what? I'm gonna say now, no, it didn't hinder us. And the reason I'm gonna say no is because for me, we seem to, not as fans, but it seems to be put out there, or not by us lot that sort of, you know, us regulars. But I've seen people now, and I'm getting bored of reading it. Like, oh crap, after the international break, okay. It seems to be an excuse. Like we've known for years, and it's the same with the finishing, which I'll get onto in a minute. It seems to be a handy excuse when things don't go our way. And I think at first it was like, yeah, okay, we do, and it was facts, but it's that factual. It's like happening all the time, and it's not addressed. And this is not even a Skinner problem. This was a problem with the Casey. Now, going on to sort of finishing, again, we can never seem to break down teams in a low block. And again, people might say that's an excuse, but that's genuinely factual. Anybody that sticks 9-10 players behind the ball, we don't break them down. You know, we had 10 shots yesterday and 2 on target, which were the 2 goals. They had 3 shots. 2 of them were on target. So what does that tell you? You know, it's not good enough in general. And I think that we've just got to stop looking for excuses. Like Nat said, you know, everybody, players take accountability, and the manager. At the end of the day, he sets them up. They go out there, they do this. It's a dual responsibility, probably more so on him, because I think, like Nat said, you know, I think she mentioned Fuso. We had Hansen. Now, yes, Hansen took a knock, and Ivana got late back from internationals. But then if they're not fit, what they're doing on the bench? You know, if you can only bring on Hansen for 10, 15 minutes and Fuso for 3 minutes, what's the point in them being on the bench? I'd rather see somebody else. You know, get some development players. It really doesn't matter, you know. So I think just same old, really. Just poor finishing, not breaking teams down, not breaking the lines. When we did have the ball, we didn't look to use it. You know, people that are our better players had quiet games. I know you, John, tweeted something out. Could they potentially be tired? Maybe not. But I just think with what you've got, to say we've only got a small squad and chuck out things like that, it just didn't sit too well with me, because I just thought, do you know what? If you'd have gone out and shown a little bit more or changed something quicker, we may have seen a different approach. And I know you're going to get into team selection and stuff like that. I don't actually think the team selection was the issue, because we went fairly strong. And the thing was, we had to win that game. And then I think we needed something like a point at Everton to guarantee top spot. So I've no issues with going out pretty much full strength, barring your goalkeeper. You know, that's not the issue for me. But I just the overall thing of it, of not breaking things down, you know, not looking to be creative, not breaking the lines, not trying to be brave. You know, like Nat said, you know, we've got a centre midfielder or a central attacking midfielder on the right wing. You know, if we were that desperate, could Tooney not have gone there? I know people are against it, but that's a better option than Stanley. At least Tooney's played it before. Stanley's never played it. So Yeah, I don't know, but I'll shut up anyway.
No, I think that's fine. I think like you and Natalie mentioned it. That's one criticism I had. I don't understand that decision, Lucy, on the right, that it was a wing. You know, very often the case it was 4-4-2 or 4-2-4. Yeah, and it does make me think: would it have been different if Carrie didn't get injured in the pre-warm up? You know, did that kind of force Boris to come in and he just made a sudden change? It did seem a bit weird. I agree with you, Matt. If you're going to put someone on the wing, you'd have thought it would have been Tooney. Would we have kicked off? Probably less than if Staniforth went on the wing. So, yeah, that was a bit of an unusual one for me. I just get Connor's initial reactions first to the actual game, and then we'll obviously get into a bit of detail.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I know you said we're going to talk about all the little details and things like that. I agree with what's been said already. I didn't think the team selection was that bad. You're looking at players off the bench. We beat City because, I mean, you look at the players we had to bring off the bench. I'm pretty sure we brought on Russo, Toon, Galton all at the same time. And you're looking at our bench yesterday. It's not bad, but you've got Ivana, who only just came back a few days ago from Brazil after playing 2 lots of internationals. And it begs the question, like Nat and Matt have already said, if they weren't fully fit to play at least half an hour, they shouldn't have been on the bench. Throw some devs on the bench. I know you're trying to protect them and you don't necessarily want them exposed in a game that we're trying to win and trying to progress in a cup. But if players aren't fit to play more than 30 minutes, they shouldn't be on the bench. So, you know, Hansen, Ivana, obviously Carrie went off. She was supposed to be starting and, you know, went off in the warm-up. But there's 3 wingers there that might not have been fit. So I just don't understand it. And that's where it comes back to a number of things you could argue, you know, squad depth, and that's why Skinner keeps mentioning it and that kind of thing. But don't put players on the bench if they're not fit enough, because we're all sat there in the stand. And I don't think he's actually said that they weren't fit enough. So maybe they were, and he just didn't want to make a change, because it confuses us all in the stands. We were all shouting it, like, make a sub. Like, surely he's not happy with this. We're losing. We're losing to bottom of the league Leicester, who haven't won a game in the league yet. And it's like, he's not changing anything. So if he'd have come out after the game and said we couldn't risk the players because Ivana had just come back and Hansen picked them not, then okay, right, it kind of makes sense. But then we'd be questioning why were they on the bench. It was just a weird game. The goals came at the wrong time. It's a set piece, you know, when we'd had controlled the ball. But it goes back to the interview he did a few weeks ago where he said we controlled the game, and a lot of people got, you know, on his back about that. I'm amazed he didn't say it again, because we did control the game, but we didn't do anything with it again. That's the problem. And I don't understand this argument that we did look tired, but I don't know why, because a lot of those players that started didn't go away with internationals. Zellum only had a brief cameo with England. 4 out of the back 5 didn't go away. Honor had back-to-back, and she looked actually the fittest out of them all. Who else played? Staniforth didn't go away. Toon looked shattered, but I mean, can you blame her? She's played 90 minutes of pretty much every game this season. And same with Russo. But Galton didn't go away with internationals, and Bo Risa played twice for Norway. So, yeah, you've got a lot of your starting 11 that didn't play with internationals. So I don't get it. I really don't.
On that.
For me, I think it's they've just lost a fitness coach, Ellie Turner. It's out there, everyone can see it. And I think Carl Green has been brought in. I think he's strength and conditioning, but then you've got to ask yourself, if they're not looking fit, but they've been with staff, what are they doing then? You know, what are they doing? Is he overworking them on the training field? I mean, a lot of people said that about Klopp, like they work so hard that they look shattered after 60 odd minutes. And that's sort of what it looks like with us. We actually start all right usually, and then we fade away. So is it that he's overworking them? I don't know. But I just want to touch back on what Connor and Matt has been saying about if they're not fit enough, they shouldn't be on the bench. And I agree, and I get it. But the only one I would say, if she's just come back on Friday or Saturday or whenever, you know, Ivana, yes, she travelled. I think it was Thursday I saw she was still in Germany in a hotel or something like that, having to maybe, you know, stop for a day or something instead of doing full trip. So for me, I think that's where you take her off and you put on either, for me, Kana or Mads. I know, you know, people go, oh, they want this one and they want that one. That doesn't mean you have to start them. I think you could have started maybe with what you had, like you said, put Tooney and thing, but have someone there who can come on, rather than just having a player who you know basically can't play. But I think she could have played. I think she would have played because she ended up staying on and doing penalties. So I know she didn't take one, but you know, there was a, you know, she could have done longer. She was out there training, warming up, jumping up and down, ready to go with Mary. So for me, I think she could have been brought on. Again, he didn't want to, but for me, I think, you know, bring on Kana, bring on Maz. You know, Maz played against Liverpool, and Liverpool haven't got the greatest under-21 team, but she was involved 4 assists and a goal. Kana got 2 goals. For me, I just think it's all this. I want to protect this. I want to do this. I get it, but you put Neve in there. So for me, they can do it. Neve was on the bench. Fair enough. She was never going to come on, or you know, there was no need at the time because we needed attacking players. No. But then she went and played the full 90 minutes. She literally travelled down motorway, played the full 90 minutes in the 21. So you know, the 21s wouldn't have been affected even if they didn't come on. But just have them there. They were probably watching in the stands. What for? Have them on the bench if you're not going to make that change. But I just, it's frustrating. It's, I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's an issue with him, players, staff, but someone needs to. And I think, you know what, after seeing Mary and seeing, you know, I think the players do step up. They do say it's not good enough. They do say they're disappointed. They do say it's going to be better. They say, you know, like when the girls say so, it's a bit more believable from them. You know, Sooni's just put a tweet out and said, you know, we're all disappointed, but we'll go again and, you know, stick with us. Whereas he just seems to come out with this kind of, it's someone else's fault. That's what I don't like. Stop it. It's foolishness. Sorry.
No, so I just want to jump in a little bit just before we get into a bit more detail. I just want to kind of jump on what everyone said, really, because I do agree. I just want to kind of put my spin on it a little bit as well. If you do have a look at, I think I'm probably a bit more, feel a bit stronger that I don't think our senior squad was in depth there as much as maybe what you guys think. So if you have a look at like our fullbacks, you couldn't rotate any of our fullbacks. Centre backs, Millie's first game back. I actually thought she did okay, to be fair, but obviously there was no Solskjaer here to bring on, so we was forced to put Hayley Ladd there. I'm not talking about devs at the moment because I do agree that we should put devs on the bench. This is the point I'm trying to make. So defence, there wasn't really that many options. It looks like Carrie should have started, but obviously she would have. Obviously she couldn't because she's obviously injured. Balvisa probably wasn't planned to start, but she would have potentially been a game changer. And then up front, I don't think Galton started well. I don't think she's played that well at all. I think she does look really tired for whatever reason. Hansen couldn't play the full 90 because she's been out. Martha Thomas is out. Russo looked the tiredest I've seen her, even during her injuries when she came back and played half a game. She still looked better than she did yesterday. Tooney looked tired. I know you guys have mentioned that as well. I just don't think them options were there. But then again, I completely agree that Fuso, if you're going to have her on the bench, then you've got to play her. And me kind of said this in the stands, at half time. That game, I think, was set up for Fuso with the pace that we've seen of her, with the high line, and we'll talk about the offside shortly. She wouldn't have needed to go and play on the line because she would have made up that speed. Galton hasn't got that speed at the moment. Standing Forth hasn't got that speed. I understand why there was right on the shoulder of the defender. Fuso wouldn't have needed to do that. So I would have loved to have seen Fuso play. I definitely want to see her play that next game. And I just think as well, with it being Leicester Conti Cup, perfect opportunity to introduce a dev or two. And that would have probably saved, maybe saved Skinner a little bit, because even though it wasn't necessarily the strongest lineup, at least then you could turn around and say, well, at least he's tried in that sense. And I do think the players look tired. I know you guys maybe said no, maybe not, but I think the players weren't up for it. Obviously, it was Skinner's choice to play those. I do think that was probably his strongest 11 that he could have played. That was not a dev. But no, I think the selection, looking at it, probably was wrong because they just didn't look at the races. Connor, obviously, you were standing next to me. We was counting how many offsides there actually were. And people in the comments, if you never watched the game, you're probably thinking, why are they talking about offsides? It was actually getting ridiculous. And I would like to put a bit of blame on the strikers, because there's no way you should be getting caught offside between 15 and 20 times in the game. And this was an opportunity. This was a Chelsea or Arsenal in this situation. They would have probably created 5 out of those 20 chances. Instead, we was caught offside. 20 times. So, another team would have probably ran one-on-one with the goalkeeper at least 5 times and potentially got a goal or 2 out of that. But we didn't because we just kept on going offside. Connor, do you want to just come in on that one, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I counted. I know Matt just put it in our chat here. According to stats, 13. I mean, I counted. I've watched the game back on the FA player. I counted about 8 or 9 in the first half alone. So it's definitely more than 13. It's closer to 20, I think, if you count them all together. I haven't watched the full game back. And some of them were a bit dodgy. Don't get me wrong. There were some very close ones. The bookings. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen that at any level. Getting booked for. When the whistle's not blown, I don't know how Leah or Ella's supposed to know. But on the offsides and stuff, I think you made a good point that maybe they were worried that they didn't have the pace to get past them, so they were slightly edging forward. Whereas, like you mentioned, Ivana probably wouldn't have done that because she knows she can beat them in a foot race. But like I've said, on numerous occasions, you shouldn't be caught offside. Once or twice, it happens. But I mean, the amount of times it did. If I was Skinner, I'd be getting them all in and doing offside drills because it shouldn't be happening that many times in a game. Eventually, you've got to start looking across the line and seeing you're a little bit offside, or you've got to change the system slightly. Because I wish I'd have uploaded it actually, but if you go and watch that game back, I've took a picture. I'll stick it in a chat later. The gap between our it was clearly a tactical thing. So this is not necessarily fully on the players, even though I do think the players should have just ignored Skinner's tactics for a bit and did their own thing. But you've got the 4 in defence, or 2, Mannion and Millie. And then you've got like 30, 40 yards, and everybody is on the back line of the defence. Granted, Leicester were playing, parking the bus kind of tactic, but playing a slightly higher line. But Zellum and Bo Risa are almost up alongside the strikers. You've got your 2 wingers and the fullback. So everyone's in a flat line. So now our tactic, every time we got the ball, was knock it over the top, which is fine if you want to play direct. But you've got to have somebody dropping deep and giving a different kind of option. No wonder why we were offside all the time, because every time we got the ball, it was that long ball over the top. And because we had players like Lucy and Leah that are not necessarily the quickest, Leah might be, but at the moment she's not showing it. That's just why we were caught offside. And you've got to look at it in a game where, like I said, the players sometimes have just got to ignore what Skinner's saying and go, right, for 5 minutes, we're going to do something different because this isn't working. If you kept getting caught offside, one of the midfielders should just drop deep and play it, two and drop deep and start playing a little bit different. I know Skinner mentioned that in his interview afterwards, but I think Nat put it on Twitter earlier. Whatever he's saying is not getting across in the way that he wants it to. Because I actually agree with everything he said, weirdly enough, after the game. But whatever he's saying is not translating into whatever the players are doing. So, yeah, it shouldn't be happening. Like I said, some of them were close, but I've never seen a game with so many offsides. It was, it was getting laughable. We were all just sat in the second half. We were just going, here we go again. Like it was getting a joke.
We even stopped moaning about it at the end because it was like, just another offside. Go on, Nat.
I saw a moment where I think it's after Leah scored and then it was called offside, but she put the ball in the back of the net before the ref blowed the whistle, and then the ref gave her a yellow card. But then after that, I definitely saw Honor like literally pick up the ball and look at the Lions person and think, shit, are you going to sort of give me a yellow card if I carry on running? And I think that plays in the mind. I think these little things, when you don't get that look, plays in your mind. I know we talked about Staniforth and that miss, but I think if we'd scored that, it would have been a whole different game. And that's what I think. And I get it. It is those cycles with play. But the thing is, we can't be like this. It's been like this. I know people are saying about set plays and it's always been a problem and all these kind of things. Matt's talked about striking always been a problem. We need to get out of this kind of, I don't know what it is. It's a mentality that we've got. But, this didn't go our way, so now we're going to start sulking. Or I'm not saying sulking, but, our heads go down and, we get anxious, we get worked up over it. And then teams just see that and just take advantage. I do think, what Connor says, he's obviously not translating whatever he wants. He said the players didn't listen to him. Well, I don't even know. I couldn't even understand what he wants because he was saying we need to step back and not run with the ball, but then we need to be more aggressive and push forward. So what does he mean? And I know Connor said he understood. Well, I didn't understand that because I think he was then giving mixed messages. So obviously the players don't understand. So this is where I say, in a way, not in a horrible way, because I think we in the end were saying, run with it, Leah, do this. So obviously that's not what he's saying, but they ended up doing that anyway. You know, I think, you know, Leah, even though she's not been in her best form, she actually was okay. Sounds really strange. There was balls in that box where a couple of them could have scored, you know. Staniforth, that one, and there's one the other side. Then she crossed in for Russo, had the goal from her assist. I think there was another one that Russo could have scored. A couple of the headers were from her side, you know. So really, it's been a problem with Leah for a while. Her numbers, she could have had a way more loads of assists, but for whatever reason, the strikers, midfield, whoever, isn't really taking the thing. And then I saw once where Hannah overlapped her, but then she just thought, you know what, I'm in front of the goal, let's just have a shot. And I thought, go on, girl. And I thought, you know, because we've not seen that. We're not seeing them taking shots from outside the box. And I mean, Zellam's goal was wasn't outside the box, but it was one back in the box. It was the edge of the box and chipped the goalkeeper. When you just have those kind of shots, you know, that keeper, someone said to me before, we've scored 36 goals in about 5 games against that keeper. And I know she's improved since thingy, but why aren't they just peppering her, doing things like her? You know, for me, it don't make sense. Sticking people. That's what they did to us. They stuck people in and around Sophie, leaning on her, doing this. So why weren't we doing that? I think we're too nice, and it's always been a problem. We have always been this kind of, oh, that's not how we do things, and all this kind of nonsense. But I don't care how you do it. Just get it in the back of the net. If you have to kick a player and it rolls in, don't care. Just sort of be a bit more, like you said, aggressive with it. But you know, I think when he sort of said they're not listening to me, that's some fault on you, mate, not them. You know, you need to get better at what you're doing, whether that's better people around you or, you know, yourself actually changing the way that you're explaining things, because it doesn't, you know, if they're not listening to what you're saying, why aren't you changing the way you're saying it then? For me, you know, that's what I do. I work with young people. If they don't understand it one way, I'll explain it in a different way, and I'll show them the benefits of it. So why isn't he doing that? He's sort of just being like, this. It's not working, mate. But for him, maybe it is working. For him, maybe this is what, you know, he just set on his way. There's no kind of deviation, and this is how you're all going to play no matter what. And it's that stubbornness that is actually really wearing on me. So if it's wearing on me, I wonder how it's getting on the players.
Matt, I know you want to jump in, but just on that, just literally the last game, he was there saying we're so close after the game. How do you go from being so close? And actually, you know, the crowd was feeling, okay, yeah, a bit more positive after this game, to just suddenly go into that again. It just doesn't quite add up, does it? It's just so inconsistent. Go on, Matt.
You just throw me there, John. Come back to that point in a minute, because I'm rewinding to link in with what Natalie was saying, sort of about communication to players. I think there's a conversation me and Connor had yesterday about passing the ball, and we were saying, you know, there was times when they could have sent it across in one pass, and it had to be 4 to 5, and everybody from Leicester shuffled across, and then we passed it another way, and then that was another 5-yard pass, and everybody shuffled across. I think that only changed, one, when fans got on the back of, like, you know, shouting, you know, it needs to be done this. And 2, when Martin Ho stood up and Skinner sat down. If you look, a lot of the time, Skinner was stood up there alongside him, and it was certain bits, and then he sat down, and Martin was up there on his own, which I've always said I feel is better, personally. But I think there must be some sort of miscommunication, like Natalie was sort of talking about, because it seems to me, I mean, from that alone, that Martin's saying one thing, and Mark's saying another. Now, I might be miles off with that, but at the minute, this is how it looks. Because, like I say, the passing was a little bit better. It was moved a lot quicker, and we started to play a bit. And then he comes up next to him, and then it's back down. Now, listen, I don't want to specifically blame a manager for that. You know, if you can't pass a ball, that's on the players. But it's frustrating to watch, because it's like goalkeeper, fullback, centre-half, left back. There was a couple of cracking balls that were sent across. I think Mannion did a few. Reese had done a couple. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I was thinking, brilliant. This is what we need. Get the ball, play. And we were talking about a deep lying, you know, sort of midfielder before. Now, we should have used Reese for that. Failing that, we should have put Haley Ladd there, you know, to play. I know we're short at the back, but to play her at the back was just criminal. And I get Millie's first game back, but I'm pretty sure against the opposition we played that we could have kept Millie on. I get that we don't want to rush her, and I never want to rush players back, but there becomes a time when you do need something. And when we did shift that ball, and it's like, I think it was kind of what I said earlier, there's no harm in going direct sometimes. Mix it up. We're not saying play it long ball, but it's the way you're switching the ball and moving the ball that breaks down. And like I say, for me, that communication, it seems to be mismatched, or it feels mismatched, and it shouldn't feel like that. If fans are thinking it could potentially be mismatched, we've got a problem, haven't we? So, yeah, don't know if anyone wants to jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly before, obviously, I know Nat wants to jump in on something else, but on this communication thing, where I'm saying I agree with what Skinner's saying in his interview, Nat put it bang on, actually, that he's saying the right thing and then following it up with something that kind of contradicts that and confuses it a little bit. And that's where, I agree with what he's saying. We needed to drop off a bit. What I was saying earlier about one of the midfielders just needed to drop deep a little bit because we were constant long balling it. And it was easy for Leicester to defend. One, because we were either offside. If you go and watch the game, actually, one, you can hear Nat on the replay quite a lot, but you can hear the players talking to each other. On the FA players. So you can hear the Leicester girl at the back line constantly shout, hold or move up. So their plan clearly was to play us offside after 40 minutes or whatever it was. So that's where you try and change it up. And Skinner was right. He said we need to drop 4 yards and do something different, but we didn't do it. So why aren't we doing it? And like Nat said, that's on him then, because clearly whatever he's saying is not translating, because I fully agree with what's been said. He said the right thing and then followed it up by, but we need to do this with our runs. And it's like, well, no, because that just goes against what you've just said. So if he's like that in training, if somebody was telling me that, right, you need to run forward here, but then go backwards to go left, and it's like, what are you talking about? So where am I going? I'd get confused. I get it, these are professional footballers, but sometimes you've got to keep it simple. So I think and this is where I say to people when people get lost in what I've said, where I say I understand his system. I understand what he's trying to do, but I don't know how he's trying to put that across, if that makes sense. I don't know. Obviously, we're not there. None of us are on the training pitch. Maybe it is complicated. But whatever he's saying clearly is not getting across. It might be the right way that, his tactics might be right, but clearly the players are not following what he's saying, because I think that's 2 or 3 interviews he's done now where he's come out afterwards and said, the players know this. The players, we've been told, I told the players this. So he's clearly not happy with whatever they're doing. So that could be that's a big problem. If the players aren't taking on board what the manager's saying, that's a huge problem and a really tough one to fix as well.
Then I've seen a comment from Dennis, and I think it sounds really harsh, but I think they have not lost faith, but like you say, I think Casey, everything was simple, from making a pass to whatever, I think, and Skinner knows how to communicate. Even probably if we had Ralph Renier, I'd say our girls might get confused. Not because they don't know, but I think even Chelsea girls, Barcelona girls, they get confused. I think there's a way that you communicate in women's football is different from men's football. And obviously Skinner's been in women's football most of his time, so he does know. But he had it with Birmingham, he had it with Orlando. It took them time, and I think he will get given at least this year, at least into, a window, just, he said give him 2 windows. So let's see, the window's coming up. I know it's not a transfer show, but it's coming up. But the way that he played versus City, he said that it's a complete performance. And then Arsenal, it wasn't as bad as where he's seen it. You just saw the difference in quality. So when you talked about it, John, so close, and then he talked about depth, I totally was behind him, because I thought he's right, because it is so close. You just played City. It was a great game. You played the way you want to play. And then you've played Arsenal. Yes, they have a different level in quality, but we hold our own. We could have got points out of that if again, shooting, scoring goals. So I saw what he was saying. But then I think, like what Matt says at the start of the show, you come back from international and there's an issue. It's been an issue since the Championship days. But there needs to stop being an issue now. You're at Man United. I know, obviously, this and that, and there's not enough depth, so he can't rotate, but he has to be adaptable in it. If Ivan is not coming back right, Ivan can't play. He needs to set some kind of standards. I don't know how to say it, like, right, you've not met the fitness test maybe of this, so you can't play. But like you said, a lot of them didn't even go on international, but I think he needs to start putting, like, the foot down. I think a name that was brought up and saying things, I think Bo Risa for me, I know she faded a bit in the second half, and maybe the unforeseen circumstances happened with Norway. They had to stay out there an extra day because of the fog or whatever. But for me, Bo Risa, the way she started, the way she was playing those through balls, we could have had 2 or 3 goals off her passes. And again, it's the whole striking. I know someone brought up Martha Thomas, and I mean it's disappointing because it's games like this where you should be able to rest Leslie. You should be able to bring in Martha and rely on. And I know Carrie was supposed to be playing, but it was Carrie and Leslie that was playing. It's not like Leslie had to come on. For me, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think, like I said, he maybe needs a bit more coaches. Then maybe, if he can't get it over, let Martin get it over. Let someone else get it over. But maybe they need another Martin. I don't know, because he can't just do it all on his own. And then I suppose that feeds back into what I've said on the fans forums about investments, not just the player on the pitch, it's the people all around. But it's like what Connor says, if it's not getting through to the players now, we're at the end really of, he's been here for a long time now. You can't just say, it's the start, because at the start we looked good. So at the start it looked like we actually were playing the way he wanted to play. Now it's sort of gone that, and now we're sort of saying just play how because we just want to win, So for me, if it sort of started off all right and it's gone backwards, and then even we had that short period, the City game and the Arsenal game where it actually looked decent, and then you come back and you've looked even worse than what you did before those 2 games. So it doesn't make sense for me. I know people are saying, are they playing to get in the sack or whatever? I don't know if that's what I'm seeing, but I don't think they are. But I think there's the trust is, I don't know. I don't want to say, they don't trust him or that, but that's what it looks like. Because we're sitting there watching it, and this is bottom of the league, and there's no kind of energy until we all got on their backs being like, what are you doing? We're going to bloody lose this game. Then suddenly, oh shit, let's score a goal. So it's not like they can't do it. It's like it's like with the men's, they pick and choose when to play. So we're playing City today, so we know we have to play good that game. We're playing Arsenal today, we know we have to raise our standards for that game. But it's Leicester, so I don't know.
Just quickly, John, I know you want to briefly move on. The one thing I will say, obviously what Nat was saying there, a couple of the comments of the players, I don't think it's necessarily that. It's all about confidence. Do they have the confidence and belief in what he's saying? Because if they don't fully believe in it, or are confident on the pitch, like yesterday, for example, if they follow the game plan and then we go 1-0 down, they're thinking, we're losing to bottom of the league here. Like, what's going on? So then you start losing faith and confidence. So that's all I'll say on that. I don't think that they're not that kind of group, are they? That they stop playing. I think it's just confidence.
No, I don't think it is, but I just think it's, and I think that's on him. They're not playing, but I just think he's like you say, he's putting that kind of doubt in their minds. I don't know. I don't think they're not playing, but this is where I say accountability. They need to take some as well. Can't play like world beaters versus City and then play like that versus Leicester. That's why I said. That's why I tweeted out in the game. How can you, people were like, oh well, it's football, things happen. Yeah, but not a drop off like that. Like, I don't know. This is where I sort of agree with him. Like, yeah, they do know the plan. They do know how to play it, but what are you doing as well? I don't know. It's just really frustrating. That's why I left right at the end, because I thought I don't even want to look at you for a bit.
It could be the case as well that Skinner's not experienced and good enough to adapt his style of play because he's only been around for like 4 years. He may not have more than one style of play, but the players aren't good enough or clever enough to do what Skinner wants. So maybe it's a bit of both. And at the moment, they're just not working together. There are some comments that I want to put on screen. I do want to talk about the goals next as well, but I just want to shout out some of these comments that took my eye. So Marty's put up something that I kind of agree with, and it links in with a few more that I'm going to bring on. They're not his signings at the end of the day, and I do think that we'll see signings before he gets a sack. So Stuart here saying, do players want to get Skinner the sack? I think if that was the case, the players have played a risky game, because I think potentially the players could go before Skinner does. Maybe not the ones on long-term contracts, but the ones who's only there for like maybe one more season or so. We know players come and go in the women's game anyway. if the board fully back Skinner and what Skinner is saying to the board, then there's a very good chance that the players could go before Skinner. And this one here as well, just another one from Stuart. Do you think Skinner would get the sack if he doesn't get a cup or top 3? I don't think he would, because even though it's what we expect, and of course Skinner's got to come out and say that because it's an ambitious club, I don't think he would have come in, and I don't think the board would have turned around and said to him, right, if you don't get top 3, you're sacked, because Skinner would just turn around and say, well, you've given me no one this, you give me no signings, you've took all my best players away, and you've given me no one to replace. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are obviously talking about Skinner, this, that, and the other, but I think until we see some of his signings, I don't think he's anywhere near his job's at risk. That's just my way of looking at it. Obviously, if something's happened later on down the line, then maybe I'm different. Let's talk about the goals. And Matt, we'll talk about the ones that we've conceded first. Again, one was a set piece. Connor was standing next to me in the stands. I think, was it you, Connor, that said that potentially they'll look like they'll score off here? You know, it's crazy because he had no chances up until that goal. The corner came, and obviously the score off it. And then the second one, Harry Ladd playing a bit of a suicidal ball across the goal, and obviously conceded off that as well. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that? Because I think there is debate there to be had, because yes, it's another set piece. Yes, Harry Ladd's not a centre-back, but she just plays centre-back for Wales. And, you know, what are your thoughts on these 2 goals that we conceded, Matt?
Well, the first one was ridiculous. I watched it back before, and there's actually 2 players marking that defender. I thought there was just one. I didn't even see Ona squirreled away. I think it was Ona and Leah Galton was the one, and the pair of them go for the header. Both of them get beat. I don't know whether one gets in the other one's way, and it was just ridiculous. And then Bagley's obviously had to come across in a positioning that just looks a little bit scrambled, but it's just basics again. I think there was something, and again, it was another conversation me and Connor had, that linked to the Hayley Ladd thing about not passing across your own box. And I think the same can relate with defending a set play. You know, every time you always put somebody on the front and back post, everybody knows it. And if you watch that back, I'm not convinced either of them were fully on the post. I don't know if one said to the other, you go on the post and I'll go up for the header, or other way around, but it didn't seem like either of them communicated, and they get beat by a near post as well. A near post flick on that goes in. I mean, there's ridiculous and there's just ridiculous, and that's up there with just, yeah, one of the most stupidest basic goals to concede. It really is. And then obviously the second one, Hayley Ladd. Listen, I'll defend Hayley pretty much 9 times out of 10, but I can't defend that. Obviously, it's a mistake, and people don't want to make mistakes. But again, linking back to what I've just said, you taught at a young age, never ever pass across your own box. Now, what I did say was, I wonder if that's come from a fear of we do sort of play full back to centre back, centre half to centre half, split them 2 and ping it nice. There's still no excuse, but I wonder if that's in her mind. I'd rather just put a foot through it. And if you get a bollocking, you get a bollocking, but at least the danger's not gone. You know, that doesn't happen. We win the game. It's as simple as that. So, you know, I'm not going to criticise Hayley too much, but it was ridiculous. Obviously, you know, look before you pass. And this isn't somebody that's a poor pass with the ball. This is somebody that's right up there with one of our best passes in the team. Obviously, we did say not a centre half. She does play there for Wales. Wales is a completely different level. It's a lot lower for me, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It is, you know, she's coming up against like not in it. Well, to be fair, even the quality at Leicester that she's coming up against was probably a similar level to Wales. In all fairness, and I know it sounds sort of savage, but it is what it is, you know. So I don't even think we can say, oh, well, she's used to it, because at the end of the day, she's not a centre half. But that said, you can't be giving the ball away like that. It was just avoidable, and then it goes through Bagger's legs. I mean, I saw some criticize Sophie for that. I don't know. I can see it, but I can't. Like, you know, you position yourself. Listen, it's happened to De Gea, hasn't it? Times when it's gone through his legs as well. So whether it should or shouldn't happen, I don't know. But both are avoidable. This has been the story so far of the defence, and I think there was something I joked about in the WhatsApp when the team posted something like, "Oh, we need to stay as a unit," and I said something like, "Jesus, we can't even defend as a unit." You know, why are we talking about units on Twitter and, you know, being together when we can't defend properly? So, but it's been the story of the season. There's been so many basics. You know, we go back to Spurs, basic long ball from about 40 yards. You know, it's not just been one game. So we need to cut those out and quick, because at the minute it's costing us. And I just, you know, if you think how many games that we've thrown away Conti Cup and League, and I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Them ones like Spurs and Everton that were chucked away would have been joint second. Without them, I think there was 6 drop points over 3 games or something like that. Them 3 draws that absolutely killed us. So, and again, it's cost us again a place in the next round of the Conti Cup. And if we don't qualify this season, things will hit the fan, because we had a shambolic year in the Conti Cup last year, after having 2 seasons of semi-finals. So, yeah, not really good enough, to be fair.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've literally, while you've just been talking now, I've just watched the goals back, the ones we conceded. And I'm just watching the second one in particular. Lads under no pressure, really. And like you just said, I fully agree with you. You never pass it across your own box. But it's interesting watch, and Honor, actually. If you watch the goal back, Mannion and Honor are both pointing at Sophie to almost say, play it back to her. So, like Matt was just saying correctly there, that is clearly in their mind to play it out from the back, don't hit it long. It's a poor pass. Sophie should have come out for that, don't get me wrong, and there is a bit of hesitancy. She goes to come out and then stops and then backs away. I think if she fully comes out for that, I don't think she scores, maybe. I think she kind of smothers on top of the ball and maybe she doesn't score. And that's that. Again, Skinner touched on it in his interview, didn't he? That she's cold. And the thing is, though, as a Manchester United goalkeeper, you're not going to have like too many shots against you. You just need to make the saves in those moments. Like we said earlier, I think they only had 2 shots on goal or 3 shots on goal. You've got to make those saves. You're not going to be faced with 10, 15 shots like oppositions are. So yeah, both goals were poor. Like Matt said, the first one, Honor and Leah, both the front post. You shouldn't be getting, not from that angle at the front post. That should not be going in from there. And the second one, it's our own mistakes. It's the story of our season, really. You could look at most of our goals conceded. It's our mistakes.
For me, though, that Sophie one, I think if we even watch back the City game, Sophie was just booting the ball, clearing the ball, getting it away. There was none of this. They were playing it out, but Sophie didn't start a lot of it, maybe 1 or 2. She was just, playing against City here. This is a good side. This is where I then come back into the sort of, I don't think they're not playing. I think it's maybe like I don't want to say drop off in intensity, but it's like they know, right, we're going to have to be up for it. We're going to have to be on our game. It's a big game. Even Skinner's sort of touching it, the peaks and the troughs, and you shouldn't take this to make you play good. It should be consistent, playing at the same level all the time. And that's what I mean when I'm sort of saying what I was saying before. And I think, we talked about that. I agree with Connor. For me, yes, she played that ball. Shouldn't have done it. But I think there's that kind of, we're in control, we're cruising, we're playing out from the back, we're building up. Whereas I feel like in the City game, there was a bit more intensity. They were running at them more. They were trying to do different things. Whereas this game, it was just sort of, I look at it and I know we're going to concede goals. That's what we need to think. I was thinking the same as you, John. As soon as they got that corner, I thought they're going to score here. And I think probably half the team, half the ground probably thought they're going to score here. And they did. And then the intensity upped a bit. As soon as they scored that second one, the intensity was up and then we got the goal. So it's like, I'm not saying they're choosing not to do it, but it's like moments make us play. And then as soon as we're level, it's not sort of there. It's not that intensity sort of drops off. And I think the way we equalised so early in the second half, why did it stop? Why didn't we carry on sort of pressing with the same intensity? But it's then they sort of went back to the passing to Aoife, passing to Lad, passing to thing to get it out. Why just do those crossfield balls? Do, Aoife straight to Honor on the wing. Why are we, and it's something that we talked about with him. You don't need 3 people to touch the ball for it to go and have a crossing position. No, you can do it in 1. You can do it in 2. What's sort of the reason behind this? And it's sort of like he wants to sort of move it across, and then hopefully then you spot a gap and then you play. And that's not how Man United play. And I mean, I get it. There's people are talking a lot in the men's game about DNA and all this, but Man United do play, and the women especially, we have played with wingers, and I get he doesn't play like that, but, it's like he doesn't even know the team that he's come into. I don't know. Go on.
No. I was just wanted to just very quickly on the back of that. We played with wingers. Staniforth and Galton were very wide, but we didn't find them because, as Nat was saying, we don't move the ball quick enough to find them. And when Leicester are playing, I think it was like a 5-4, 5-4-1 or 5-4-1. My maths is correct. At times, Millie and Mannion have got a bloody good pass on them. We saw it a few times in the game, switching the play. You can go and watch the game. You can see the passes that they were playing. But the problem is you can't expect the wingers to do much when the ball gets to them after going through. Me and Matt joked about it in the ground. It's like a kid's training drill where you've got to pass it 10 times and you can move to the next quadrant. That's what it's like with us. You have to play 10 passes. Right, that's correct. Now we can move on to the next one. Instead of Millie played a beautiful ball in the first half over to Staniforth and over to Honor, sorry, and that's it. Then there's the space there. You're asking your wingers to do too much, really, because by the time the ball gets to them, they're double marked again, especially with a low block like that. It's far too slow. So weirdly, we do actually play with wingers. They were staying wide, but we don't find them. That's the problem.
Can I jump on this one, and then Matt, if you just want to have your side as well?
Add to it. No, I just what Connor said that got me thinking. But go on, John.
You get thinking. I want to jump in on what Nat said about the way that we're playing, about like passing this, that, and the other. We as a fan base are spotting that we've been playing like 10 million passes before we go as wide. But I think that's because as a fan base, we think to ourselves, right, the end way of the attack is to get it to the player out wide and then cross it in or run in out wide, because that's the way Man United have always played, especially of our age group. We grew up kind of watching wingers. I say our age group, maybe Connor's a bit younger than myself, but that's kind of what we're used to. There's moments in that game where I don't even think that where we're thinking, okay, the ball's got to go out to Galton or Staniforth on the wing. I don't think that's the intention. I think they're standing there to stretch the play, because there's very often the times in the centre of the midfield, was passing the ball around quite small, like short passes, and then Staniforth would have made a run behind where there's a gap behind the defence and the goalkeeper, and the ball's tried to go over there. So I think as a fan base, we're thinking, okay, the ball's got to go to the wingers, and it's taking too long to get to the wingers. I don't think the intention is ever to get to the ball to the wingers. I think they want to put the ball in behind, and a runner come through the midfield and run onto it. I think that's what it is. I think the tactics that Skinner's doing is something that we never see as United fans. I think it's just something you do see it in the European game, but I don't think that our players are used to this kind of play. So when Nat says we've tried to find spaces, I think we are. And we've heard Skinner say this in one of his earlier interviews about running into like invading the space, because I call it like space invaders or something, and it's invading the space beyond the defence. So I think they're just passing the ball around, hoping for a centre midfielder to run in behind the defence into where there's a gap. So I think that's the way that we're kind of trying to score goals, but it's not working because we can never find that ball over the top for whatever reason. Do you want to jump in, Matt?
Yeah, it was just to add to him, sort of about what Connor was saying about finding wingers and that, and obviously wing play. I think the thing what bugged me was when we did get it wide and we did get into crossing positions, the crossing was woeful and there's nobody in the box. And we've talked about this in past seasons as well. But I just think, especially against sort of a low block and a high line, we should be looking to pick holes in between. Whenever we went wide, we seemed to just, attack the fullback. And it's like, well, are we attacking the fullback? Should we be maybe picking it in between? There was 5 at the back. So for me, I'd be going inside the fullback and the third sort of centre-back, if you want to put it that way. And we never seemed to break lines. We never seemed to play in between. We never seemed to bend our run, hit a diagonal. And it's very pedestrian. Like you say, it's easy in a low block because pass goes one way, 9-10 players go across, like I mentioned before. Same again. I just think, if like you said, John, that they're there to occupy the space and to make people think, you've got to have that intelligence in the midfield, in the middle. And we've probably only got 2 near that was on the pitch that can do that. Risa can do it, but she's further back. We're not talking attacking players. Stanley was ineffective because she was in the wrong position. And then you're left with Zellum that doesn't know whether to sit or go forward. She's sort of caught in what I'd say no man's land.
She's using a while trying to play the ball, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, when she did get forward, she scored a goal, so I can't argue with that. But I just wish that we'd find an in-between balance. And this is why I've always said midfield, although I agree it's our best midfield, it's also our biggest problem because we don't know, or it seems like they don't know the roles. And then there's an over-reliance on Tooney and Lessie to do something out the ordinary. And I think what we saw, I mean, obviously Alessia scored, but to me, she just looked frustrated. Like every time she'd go and press, there was no second press. It was just woeful. And it wasn't even just her. There was other players want to press. And I kept saying at times, I don't know if it was to Rob or somebody on our own, I was like, where's the second press? Why are we not backing it up? it's easy to pass a ball around one player to a second player if nobody's following it up. And it's like, one would stand and look, were you pressing and mine pressing? You can't do that against a low block team. You really can't. And I was reading Heskey's quotes before, and he said we were drilled in. He said we knew if we stayed compact and everybody knew the role, that we could nick a goal or two, and we had to stay disciplined and play a high line. And that's all they did. That was the tactics, and they knew that. But it was drilled into them from the start. This is what I expect of you 5. You shuffle across. This is what I expect of you 4 in front. When you get the ball, you 2 go and support the lone forward. We don't have anybody supporting our forward. It's just, like you said, John, wingers that seem to be stood wide that then think, shit, do I pass it to the fullback? Do I give it inside? Do I run with it? Then when I cross it, nobody's there. There was one, I can't think who it was. There was one yesterday and somebody crossed it and there was Fuso at the back post. She's about 5'2". And I'm like, why are you hitting? Delay it or pull it back. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a whole sort of concoction of things, if you want to put it that way. And I don't want to overanalyze, but go on, Nat.
No, it's like what you said, John. Maybe they're looking to play this. Maybe it is just to sort of tie up a player, because there was times as well where Risa did push forward in the first half, and she did 2 or 3 through balls, and I thought, bloody hell, if someone latched onto that, that's a goal. That, and maybe she was finding the space, and it's just about people making the runs right or whatever. But she was playing that ball through, and I feel like with Connor, they obviously, how come Heskey can come in, right? He's been there a long time, so he does know those girls in one game and drill a pattern of play into them. That's what I don't understand. So how good are you as a coach if you can't just drill in a simple pattern of play? I've watched the under 21s, right? And they know what they're doing. If one goes left, the other goes right. This is how we're going to play. This is, and I know it's different under 21 football, but it's a coach who's drilled in a style into them girls, and they know how to play. So Heskey's just gone, this is what we're going to do. So how come Mark can't do it? That's what I don't understand. And I know, it takes time, but don't take time for everyone else. It seems to be us that everything takes time. But it looked good at the start. So
the thing is as well, sorry, just dead quick. No, they've had about 6 or 7 first teamers out, so it's not even like they've had a full team, whereas we have. And like you say, they've drilled that in, and they all know the role in one game. Sorry,
I just seen that. No. I just seen this comment.
Yeah,
you can't play the complex way, Skinner. He's even admitted I've not got the sort of, he's sort of said by the depth and all this and the players and this and that. So we haven't got the players who can play this complex way. So just play the way to win. And I feel like this is the thing with him. He's unwilling to do it. So he's happy to take these kind of inconsistent performances because maybe he thinks, I know I've got my job and give me 2 windows, then we'll play this way. But we ain't got time for 2 windows. For me, I think, this is the best. But you said it, Matt, right? We lost to Liverpool last season in the Conti Cup, and then it's pretty much we weren't going to. I think we won the rest of our games apart from Everton, but we were out of it pretty much. This we've actually got and beat Man City this time. It just makes that result in vain if we don't get. And now it's sort of not in our hands. It is sort of, but we need to win, so it's in our hands. But it's in our hands basically going second. And then we don't know. We pretty much know that we'll probably be the best second team. But why have we gone from being in control of this group? And I had the feeling, coming into this game that we should beat these. We did well last 2 games. We beat City. Why even beat City? What for? So it looks good. It doesn't matter. You need to beat it to win it to get through.
I just think for me, you've got to work with what you've got as well. It's all well and good saying give me 2 windows, but Jesus, there's nothing you can do between sort of the window closing and January. So work with what you've got. I just think it's a poor excuse. Give me 2 windows. Well, no, other managers.
The guy came in and the window was open. So, he knew he didn't have all these. He's now talked about we lost a lot of strikers. You knew you lost a lot of strikers, but you said it was good enough then. And now suddenly, I need more time. Obviously, you need more time. Yeah, you need a window. But for me, I think it's, I don't know. It depends how bad it gets. For me, it could be January and bust. That's how much, you better go out there and do what you got to do in January. I know January is a hard time, but it's January or bust, because he's talking about, I need my players. If you don't go and get someone in January, and then potentially, I think as well, maybe let a few go. There's players there that are not playing at all. Makes no sense to them even, but that's that by the by. But, for me, I think it's, right, get one off the wages, get the other one, just let them go. You know what I mean? Who cares anymore? They're going to go on a free anyway, so let them go. I don't know.
It reminds me very much of Louis van Gaal, actually, in the men's. He tried to put a system across and the players didn't quite understand it. And Van Gaal spent a lot of his press conference talking about players and specialist players for those positions. This feels very similar. And Van Gaal, funny enough, actually, was doing quite well against the big teams. We said it was quite a good result against Arsenal, even though we lost. We played quite well, did well against City, beat them. But we're losing to Leicester. It feels very similar, actually. Because like I said, maybe it goes back to what we were saying earlier, doesn't it? The players are maybe not the specialists in the positions that he wants, and that's why he's talking about transfer windows.
Well, all I know is Vilde Reese has recently been on a podcast, right? And she talked about playing as 2 6s. That's the way he wants to play, double pivot. But then I look at Zellum, I look at Jackie, I look at her, Rorisa, they're all 8s. So he's playing these 8s as 6s. Makes no sense. You play them a 6, 8 and a 10 because that's what you've got. Work with what you've got. Sometimes maybe, against Leicester we should be able to play 2 8s as a 6. But I think, like what you say, that there's obviously one doesn't know whether to go forward, one's there. So it's all then up in the air confusion. But then the minute that it's shit, we've got to win, they all bomb forward, don't they? It's everyone attacking. It's just frustrating, to be honest.
John, can I just quickly finish off before you move on? I know we're going to end up running over, but all I was going to say was, the thing is, we're talking about 2 windows, which is all well and good, but it's like I was saying before, work with what you've got. If you can't get it right with what you've got, do you honestly think, or if you were sitting on the board, are you going to actually back him and say, can we trust you with 2 windows when you can't get it right with what you have? Because it's not like we're talking 1 or 2 changes and we're going to fly up the league. We're talking 3, 4, 5 players at least that we're going to, and it's all well and good saying 2 windows, but can we be afforded that time? Can we be afforded to finish 6th or 7th potentially and crash out of cups again? If you can't get it right with what you have, and like Nat said, you can't adapt to what you've got. Obviously it ain't his fault he's not brought players in or he's not been back, whatever, that's fine. But get it right with what you do have. Change the system to suit what you have. And then when you've got your windows, build it.
Yeah,
but at the minute, we're not even getting the basics right with what we have, which is turning into a shit show that we're getting, like you said, we're getting a quality performance against City, then following it up with crap. Then we're getting a really good result here, then following it up with 2 crap games, and doing well here. And it's a revolving door, and it can't go on like that all season.
But as well, the players that are there, I think it was Dennis who said consequences. Well, the best players won't re-sign for us. How can we say to Honor, Jackie, Russo, Millie, oh yeah, just give me 2 windows? Well, I'm working with you now. It's not going great, mate. Why should I re-sign with you? I'm happy that Tooney did, but I thought then that would trigger a load more. And I know it was it wasn't. It was only just like last week, but I thought that would trigger Leslie. I thought that would trigger Millie, and the fact that we haven't seen it, I'm worried. Is it just going to be her that signed? I don't know. Not that I'm upset that she signed, but especially the English ones, I thought we'd have seen them straight away after. So it just worries me a bit.
We haven't really got too much chance to talk about the goals that we've scored, unfortunately. But
get them, John.
But obviously those goals did lead to a single point. So we are on 6 points now with 2 other teams. Just go around the room before we finish. Just talk a little bit about maybe our chances of getting through now, because it is still kind of in our hands. If we win Everton, we do stand a good chance of finishing in the best of the second place runners up. Natalie mentioned that. Craney, I'll start off with yourself then, mate. What are your thoughts now against Everton? Because you just don't know what team's going to come out, do you? Literally, you don't know what players are going to come out. You don't know what form. Form's kind of goes out the window with us at the moment. You just don't know what to expect. Usually when we play Everton, we think to ourselves, we've got a good chance of winning here. And now it's going to be a midweek game. Obviously, I think it's a Wednesday night that we're going up there. We need to get a win. It's not going to be easy, I don't think. he's going to be thinking to himself, well, he's got 2 league games either side of it as well. So he's going to be thinking about resting some players or maybe not resting the players and making them more tired. What's going through your head, Matt?
Play your best team that we can that's fully fit. I don't think we can afford to rest players looking at, I mean, we didn't even rest players yesterday, so that's not even something I can say. I just think go full strength. Listen, our full strength team in the league drew there, and that was their manager's, second game was it? He's had a little bit more time now. Not that worries me, but you get what I'm saying. You know, if we can't win in the league there with our full strength team, why are we going to be any different in the Conti Cup? I'm not saying we're going to lose, but it now becomes must win. Before it was beat Leicester and a draw will do, and you know we'll take that, or a draw and then a win on a shootout or whatever, however the bloody stupid competition works. But now the pressure is on, and like I say, you know, you're looking at Man City playing Leicester, potentially there with a Leicester win, we're looking at potentially third in the group. And listen, even coming second in the group, you're not guaranteed because it goes on goals for and against before your points as well. So I think there's points, goals for and goals against. So we may not even be the second best placed team to go through, or what, I don't know how many second place teams go through, but we may not be one of the best teams in that position. So we may still go out. So Everton just becomes massive. Like literally, there's no margin for error. And listen, like I said in the league, you know, we didn't do very well. Simple as that. So we need to up our game. We need players back. We've got 1 or 2 injured. Obviously, we talked about potential tiredness, but at the end of the day, that team is more than good enough to beat Leicester, what we had yesterday, and more than good enough to beat Everton. So, yeah, I think just full strength, really go at it. We've got to change. We've spoken about what we need to do. We really do need to change it, and I seem to say this every week. But yeah, we need something, John, because it's not going to be. I'm going to be just not happy at all. I'm going to be fuming, and I'm sure many other people are. 2 years in a row, and we go out the Conti Cup. You know, looking at the group that we've had this year and last year, and the results we've had this year and last year, just not good enough. I'm pretty sure we finished bottom, or at least third last year. You know, losing to Liverpool was the final straw for most people. This year it's a different format, so that pressure is on. We have to get top spot, and nothing else is good enough, unfortunately, at a club of our size.
Jackie, I think 1 or 2 get through, and then obviously Chelsea and Arsenal drop into it as well, so that makes up the 8. I think Sheffield United are the closest ones to us, points per game. So we do need a win against Everton. Connor, what's your thoughts on this? You can't be too confident, can you?
Not after what we saw in the league earlier a few weeks ago. I think that's the problem. The one thing I will say, and this sounds quite bad actually, but it should be different because the players will be up for it because they know it's winner takes all kind of stakes. Which it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be in this position in the first place. Like, you know, we've already touched on it. It should be the same level of intensity for every match. It shouldn't be up there and then down here and so on. So I'm not fully confident. I'm confident in the players that we've got enough to get over the line, which we do. We've definitely got a better team and enough to get over the line. But whether it links in any kind of way, but I think it all depends what happened next Sunday at Brighton. Because if we get beat there, the confidence isn't exactly going to be very high going into Everton, is it? So I think it all depends. Can we turn it around against Brighton? If we get a big win at Brighton, then the confidence in the player. I speak about it all the time, confidence in the players. And when you're, if a lot of players are kind of a confidence player, you'll run that extra yard when you're a bit tired because, you really, you're pushing for it because you know that what you're believing in is going to work in the end. So it really does hinge, on Brighton. It's in our hands. It's essentially a straight shootout. Whoever wins that game is going to go, because I know Matt's talking about second place. Yes, second wouldn't be ideal, but I think looking at every other standings, I think if we win in 90 and go through in second, we've got enough to go through anyway. So we may not top the group. It's very unlikely because I doubt Leicester are going to do us a favour at City. So we are going to have to settle for second, which we shouldn't be in this position. After we beat City, we were all sat there going, right, okay, we're going to top the group now. I didn't think we would be sat here going, well, we're going to settle through in second. Should we win? We might not get through at all. But yeah, it really does depend on Brighton for me because we need to come out of that with no injuries for a start. But we also need to come out with that with a bit of confidence because we can't have 2 losses in a row. That's for sure. Well, I know it'd be 3 if you include Arsenal too.
What if the way I look at it as well is if we had won that penalty shootout, we would have been top. It wouldn't have been the way that we wanted to get there, but it would have been that, I suppose, extra little boost that they probably needed. And then it's just unfortunate the people who, I think you even said it, Connor, those two they didn't miss. They had the penalties saved. You could sit and criticise the penalties, but the keepers went the right way. There were strong penalties, For me, I think I want to see now the girls that didn't play, I want to see play, against Brighton. So, Ivana didn't play. I want to see her maybe start. I'd like to see now. I think she's high on confidence. Last 2 games, goals, played really impressive for Brazil. Yes, she's come back late, but I want to see her play now. I think she deserves it. She's worked hard for it. She can change the game. Like you say, she's got that extra energy. It doesn't matter how far she's running back from. She can drive, aggression, all those kind of buzzwords he said. She's got it. I'd like to see as well. So a few of the forwards did look a bit shattered. So whether it's 2-0, let's say, I'd like to see Carrie come in. And that doesn't, whether that means them coming off at half time and Carrie coming on or them coming on. I just think that we need a bit of like game change on the bench. We've not got them. So maybe, one game play that and have someone come on. I'd like to see Bo Reese start. I just think, I know it's not a sort of preview for the next game, but these players, I think they're sort of earning now. And I just think if you're not getting any kind of rewards for playing for good performances, then that's going to sort of maybe lower your confidence. And I think that in a way he's played some players into form. Maybe they shouldn't be dropped, but then I think there's players there that deserve shots and they're not getting them. And I feel like he has to change it up now because, like you say, that was the strongest team and it was battle of the league and, they look like they wanted it more. So for me, I think it's time that we see a bit of change, a bit of difference.
And on that note, just a couple of comments here just to end the show. Hanson and Fuso drop Galton. Edwards and Corner, potentially time for those to step up. So yeah, absolutely. I think there has to be change. 3 games in a week, which will end up being Brighton, Everton, Villa. I think we probably will see something quite radical. I think we have to because if they look tired, I think they will be tired with the midweek game, aren't they? We have come to the end of the show. It's a shame because this was a good one. Hour and 10 minutes, not too bad at all. Thank you to everybody in the comments. Really enjoyed that one. Craney, plan for the rest of the week. I always come to you because I know that you do the schedules and you put them out.
Is that your way of trying to say I'm organised or the most organised out the 3 or 4 of us? Or
it's you with the one with the best memory, I think, because I always get confused. I don't even know what half the time.
I'll take that compliment, John. Thanks. Tomorrow, then, obviously, my show 7:00. Good one, this actually. We're talking about sort of the culture of the WSL. So, sort of how it's changed since it's sort of gone fully pro. Obviously, used to be no relegation. Sort of also talking managers. Emma Hayes won, I think, 3 games in her first season at Chelsea throughout a season. More managers being sacked, more results-based business. So that'll be my show tomorrow. Wednesday, Natalie, you've got your one.
I've got Sandra. I'll probably say her name wrong. Sandra Pally, but it's about basically when we talk about lionesses. I think a lot of people seen it. Are they too white? Is the whole league too white? I know that's very controversial, but we don't fail to pull punches and just sort of saying how we can improve it, what needs to be done, not only from the FA clubs. Fans, what can we do? How can we see a change? I just want to say that last night, obviously in the devs, there was a few. I'm seeing changes. There's a good mix of different cultures there, so that's positive. But yeah, definitely check that one out on a Wednesday. It's going to be good.
Thursday, John?
Yeah, Thursday we got Deborah back on. So she's going to be discussing the United Fans Forum. So you might have seen it come through on your phone if you're on the United app or have a look on the United website. So she's one of the newest attendees at the forum. So that'll be really interesting. And it's actually going to be streaming through the main Orpha United account as well. So we're going to be opening that one up to every United supporter who wants to watch Orpha United on that night. Yeah,
so just to touch on that as well, obviously Deborah is now on the advisory board, isn't she, for fans representing us, which is fantastic. And, she does a brilliant job in being the link between sort of fans and the club, I'd call it. And I know there's a lot of good work going on there. Friday, obviously, John, you've got Fans for, and Anthony's show is also back as well.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, me and Benny back this week. I know Saturday just gone. We missed it. It wasn't intentional. There's a couple of reasons why for that. But that's sorted now. I had a bit of a conversation with Ben. So yeah, and then Sunday, Brighton. So keep an eye on the socials and tune in.
Awesome. Thank you for that, guys. And we shall see you again soon. Have a good one.